What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Performance Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and I got the Apex Takeover Podcast with me today. All right. So best believe these women, these queens come with that F1 ish, and they're going to come with us today. Off camera, we were having a conversation about all the things like the Oscar Piastri custody dispute, how that's turned out bad for Zach. You know, Tanya's pissed about Mercedes not doing what they're supposed to do, and it's quite possible that Red Bull might run off into the sunset like Free Willy with no Captain Ahab in sight. How you feeling about Martha hasn't seen it yet, so we're not gonna spoil it all for her if that wasn't spoiled enough. But how you ladies feeling today?
We're good. I'm good. I just came from work, so that's why I have not watched the qualifying. But to be honest, I feel like for 2023, I want to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not feeling the same way about Formula One. So am I gonna watch qualifying today? I'm not gonna promise.
Damn. Damn. Why this feeling? Why is this?
There's just a lot of things that have come to light with Formula One and FIA regulations, politics, custody battles, like you said. And I just don't really know. I haven't put myself quite where I feel I sit with it anymore. Okay. I love the sport, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if I love it as much as I did.
Got you.
In the past few years. Yeah.
Okay. Tanya, what about you?
I love it. Absolutely love Formula One. I'm not going anywhere. I feel that what was happening today is just the kickoff of what Formula One is all about. We were at this place last year and the year before that and the year before that. The only difference was a few years ago, it was more in Mercedes' favor. So we have to see how these cars perform. We have to see how the drivers are going to be interacting with each other because it is another grid shakeup. Like Nico Hulkenberg, where he placed today over Kevin Magnussen. Like, how is that relationship going to play out this year? Also Yuki Tsunoda and Nick DeVries. Like Yuki Tsunoda, he has a lot to prove this year.
Facts.
Last year that team was headed by Pierre Gasly. He has since moved on to Alpine. So now we're looking at, okay, Yuki, can't be cussing people out now. You got to really drive and not crash that car because now you are, in the first seat, even though they don't want to say who's in the first seat. But Nick DeVries, he's not going to take second easily at all. He has something to prove too, considering the drive that he had last year. So we'll see.
Right. And I think Gasly, gave Yuki a little breath of fresh air because I don't think Gasly made out of Q1.
And yeah. I think that was a qualifying that he wants to forget.
Right. Right. So let's get on to some other things because I think Martha, she said screw F1 for right now. I don't love Formula One because I don't like to say I love anything that can't love me back. And I don't feel like Formula One actually love us back. So I feel like there are a lot of situations that have taken place with Formula One where I can take that stand. But I am very passionate about competition and motorsports. And I like to talk to a lot of issues and topics and performance all in that. So yeah, I like Formula One. I'm passionate about it, but I don't love y'all because y'all don't give us a lot of love back. So I'm tapering off my love for you. But I would like to talk about something that is very interesting in the F1 Academy. And I know we spoke to it about when I was over at you all's house. So now y'all coming over here and we're going to talk more, elaborate on that. How do you feel about managing director Susie Wolff being hired for that job? How do you feel about that?
Well, I absolutely am thrilled because I feel like Susie has proved time and time and again that where she sits with not just diversity of women versus men, she does actually uphold, all the multifaceted, sectionalities of diversity in terms of like people of color. I've seen her be an ally for people of color. I've seen her be an ally for women. So she encompasses, you obviously need somebody who has the experience in motorsport to do the directing job of that. And I think she's somebody who's been in motorsport for years. She's driven an F1 car.
Right.
So I think that just based on just those things and also the fact that she's very multifaceted in how she understands and supports diversity, I think she's a really good, person to put in that position. So I'm looking forward to seeing what limitations they place on her. Because sometimes they put someone in a position and let's see how much wiggle room that this person has to make actual change. She is a vessel for change within herself, but then this is an organization. So is it just performative? Let's put her there and then let's just pull the strings type scenario, or is she someone who say, "There's no strings on me, let's go"?
Right.
So
I think
yeah.
that's a good point. And I also want to go ahead before I get to Tanya, before I get to you, say I think it's a bit disrespectful for people to be like Total Wolf's wife. Like, you all need to understand, Susie has been a test driver for Williams, which was one of the greatest teams in Formula One before they fell from the heavens. She's been in F Renault, I want to say F3. She also was team principal for a Formula E team that was running against Nick DeVries at some point in time. They only fell short by a few points. And now she's and she also got promoted to CEO, and now she's manager and director of Formula One Academy. So I think you all need to put more respect on Susie Wolff as who Susie Wolff is and what she's accomplished in motorsports and what she's done. And like Martha said, it's like a lot more than that. But yeah, Susie Wolff is real. She's legit. So Tanya, how do you feel about the hire?
I mean, Susie Wolff, she also drove in DTM.
Boom,
She
facts.
she was in karting. You know, she was in driving series with Lewis
Right.
Hamilton. So when you look at this woman and her performance as a driver, she has broken many of records. When she was a performance driver at Williams, she was the very first woman in 20 years to actually participate in Formula One in its activities. So that's
Right.
something that really needs to be noted. She does work with UNICEF. She does work with the FIA Girls on Track, which we have interviewed Carol Glenn. She's also ambassador of FIA Women Girls on Track. So to speak about this one as if she's just Total Wolff's wife, I'm pretty sure you just didn't even take the time to educate yourself on exactly who she is. But being Total Wolff's wife, she has, even if you speak from that aspect, she's a mother as well. And she takes those highs and lows that Total Wolff goes through and the Formula One Mercedes AMG Petronas team. You know, she takes that too, on top of managing her own team, on top of being a mother, on top of doing all the humanitarian work that they do by herself and then also with her husband. So she is a multifaceted woman that I think is really going to make extraordinary strides in the Formula One Academy. And I think that's the reason why they chose her. There are other women that they easily could have chosen that would have taken on that responsibility. But I think she is the one that's going to facilitate change. Just like her upbringing too. What I like about Susie Wolff is she doesn't feel like she's above anybody else. Her feet are firmly on the ground. That's another thing that I like about her, and her reliability, how she does like to engage people of color. And she's the one pushing for diversity and inclusion. I mean, when you look at the Formula E team that she was CEO of, there were a lot of women that were employed in that Formula E team. And that had to easily have been because she was the one who facilitated that process. So they're giving her, like, I'm actually excited because they're actually giving her an academy, a whole academy of women that she's going to be nurturing. And I don't think that she's going to fail. I just hope that they give her more backing. And I think they will, because it's Formula One versus the W Series, because we basically all saw that implode towards the end of the year. They, ran out of money, and then they were like really, really hush hush about it when they didn't bring it back. And then also this year, we were like, is there going to be a W Series? They didn't even really let us know if there was or if there wasn't going to be a W Series. So
supposedly there is, which segues us into this, because that's a very good point. Like, first of all, are they gonna no strings? Is she gonna be able to come in and do what she would do in order to uplift an organization? Or is it gonna be like, yo, we got Susie Wolff, that's enough for us, that's media and marketing, we got something to push the product? I don't want to see that type of situation, which right now I'm leaning a little bit that way, and it's not going to be any failure due to Susie. You can't overcome the overall big machine just as one part, right? She needs them to enable her to do what she would do in order to make this successful. So have any of you been to the F1 Academy website? No, I haven't either, because I haven't found one. I don't even know if they're there. I've looked for one and there's not one.
So I went on Instagram. They do have an Instagram where they are announcing like all of the drivers that they're bringing in. But no, I have not gone to the website.
Right, because it's not one, Tanya. It's not a website. Like F1 got a website, F2 got a website, F3, F4 even got a website. The W Series got a website. Why is something like so big as this not being pressed to where they have their own website so we can go and look at their calendar, look at the drivers that are coming, look at the teams that are involved. I'm already kind of looking at his side eye like, what the hell is really going on? Something this big to the magnitude you saying you put in the F series or F platform is supposed to be the bridging gap, and you're saying basically using the W series as a farm team to come to the F1 Academy to then hopefully get somebody to F3, and they don't even have a proper website yet. Like, that's not hard.
Well,
how you feel about that?
Let's hope. Well, again, I'm just saying, let's hope that this is just them wanting to be meticulous, and there's somebody in the background right now saying, you know what, on Monday we're gonna drop it. We're on Monday we're gonna drop it like it's hot. You get on there, you see a website, www.f1academy.
Right.
So that's all I can say on that right now, I guess.
So they announced it when? They announced it in November, or was it October?
No, that was November. I think that's October, November.
Yeah.
October
sometime,
right.
And then it took them this long from October. Okay, so October to November. It took them this long to announce Susie Wolff. So, and Susie Wolff was only announced on March 1st, which I think that they kind of waited because it's Women's Month. This month of March. So
salute to you both.
So I'm pretty sure it should be, I think it will be coming up online soon. But
we're gonna see. We're going to see.
So let's just give them a chance. Let's see what they're gonna do.
I don't know if that's like the proper way to go about it, but I know you're making all these announcements and releases. It would be good for us to like not have to search or go to IG, and some people don't have it to find out about the calendar. Which brings me to, how do you feel about the calendar? Because I feel some kind of way about the calendar. But first, I want to know how you feel about the calendar. Either one of you can go first.
About the F1 Academy calendar?
Yes.
So it's five teams, 15 drivers, 21 races?
No. I saw 7.
Races.
7 races. 7.
Yeah.
Divide by 3.
Yeah. So
like,
wait, I'm
like, what do you mean 21 races? I like the 21 races, but it's not even that. Okay.
It's divide by 3.
No.
7.
So this is why I'm saying that sometimes things can look a certain way when they present them, but the performativeness of it is like, it's almost like W series with a different name. If that's what you're doing, because same thing with W series, like you want women to drive. You are like, yes, we're for this. We're for diversity. We're for women, but you only had them in, like less than 10 races. We could count them, and they didn't even complete them. So even with F1 Academy, you still have a section that this is the women's section. And then in that women's section, you only have this many because you cannot put up like, listen to what you're saying, but also listen to what you're not saying. But it comes out. So why only 7 races? Why only this? Why? There's just a lot, and this is exactly why I'm saying I don't know how I feel about FIA anymore, because the things that have come to light in the past 3 years is making me take a step back and like, what am I supporting? Right? I'm not saying that I don't like it, but I'm not going to continue to just be like, I'm thrilled, I'm passionate, when I see all these things that are like, justice is not being served properly to so many things on so many things that happen in this, and then also fairness, and then humanity. There's just so many places where we see for a fact that these things are lacking, and thanks to Clubhouse, some of these things have become more important to me. I feel like before that I just loved it blindly. I just didn't like, okay, it's racing, I'm down. But now things have literally come to light that I'm like, I want to stand behind this because I do want to see change. It might not be change within my time, but I have a son. You have a daughter. Tanya has sons. By the time these kids grow up, are they going to have a chance? And if we keep going at the snail's pace. So that's why I'm kind of standoffish right now. I'll watch the races, don't get me wrong. But I'm standoffish based on all these other things.
What you got, Tanya? What's up?
For both of you. Okay.
All right. Shoot.
I have made a lot of assumptions about Formula One until I started talking to people in Formula One and actually getting the whole picture. See, this is the thing for me.
Okay.
We don't know why there's 7 races. We don't know why there isn't a website. Like, I wish that they had more of a person that was able to give us all the information that we need before we can make an informed decision.
Right.
But my thing is that they have to develop a pathway for women and people of more diverse backgrounds to be able to get in to Formula One. Okay. And that's something that is not going to happen overnight. I don't care if you give people 30 and 40 and 50 races. They have to have the adequate training. They have to have that time of development in karting. Like I saw your daughter karting. I was oh my God, she was
Yeah,
amazing. Awesome.
she came and said, "Daddy, I
But
want to start racing," so I'm behind her.
yeah, exactly. It starts from there. So when you look at the F1 Academy, yeah, it's starting, everything's great. But what are they doing on a more grassroots level to make sure that little girls like your daughter are able to come in and be able to compete in the Formula One Academy? You know, and to me, that's what, Kate Bevan is over there doing and her organization. They're trying to compile all this information to see exactly what the barriers are. We want to see all of this diversity and change. We all have to get together and we have to make sure that work is done. And we have to make sure that these ways to be able to get into these series are actually attainable. Because even now with the F1 series, I mean, I didn't see any Black women.
All right, so I'm still waiting for your question. What's the question? Because I want to answer it.
So the question is for you all, what do you think would be ways and things that they can do to bring more people of color, women, into the F1 Academy and also like Formula One?
Okay.
Where can they start?
I will say that the ways are there, Tanya, but then it's just access. The word access means so much in Formula One on so many levels. You know this on when me and you had access to the paddock. Access. So are the jobs there? They are there. But there's only a certain number of people that are having access to seeing these jobs posted. Some of them don't even get posted. You know, you take a job at Formula One. If they posted a job and it's like in Washington, D.C. and you found out about it, you'll be on that like white on rice. But what I find is that you always end up finding that this person now has this job, but it's not put out there. I know Cara Glenn has put out applications for people, and this is just because she is in the position that she's in. So first of all, like, we know that there's programs in place trying to do surveys and trying to ask the questions. But I have to say, if I'm being honest, and I know that I need to be patient, but if I have to actually be honest, we've been asked the same questions for years now. What has been done? Where did you put that information? I've answered you. I've given you so much of my time and energy and thoughts and emotions. What happened to all that information all these years? Like, I'm tired of answering the same damn questions over and over and over. And that's why I'm saying it's a snail's pace. And I know when we heard about them making the rule that, F1 drivers can no longer wear t-shirts that say, whatever they want to support, fans made noise. And I saw my power right there. I saw it. And I also am now advocating. I know that I'm not holding a plaque or anything like that. Please, Formula One, don't come after me. But I'm advocating for fans to make noise because you have power. You've seen it. So, Tanya, to answer your question, I don't think they are going to actually do much until we fans really, really hold them accountable, because we've seen them change their freaking minds once we hold them accountable. And that's really what I'm trying to do. So I know that I'm one person, but I feel like one person, they grab a couple others, they will stop doing all this crap. And I think it's crap to keep on asking me the same question year after year after year and not really doing anything after it, like anything about it.
Right.
So there are organizations that will say, yes, these ones seem like they're on the right path, but they've been asking me the same questions. Someone else has been asking me the same questions and done nothing with it. So that's why I'm fed up, to be honest. I'm just fed up because it's been too long.
Well, what are your thoughts, Wolfpack? Because I know that your daughter's in karting now, and I know that for friends that I've asked, that the expenses is what's keeping a lot of people of color out of karting, because it takes nothing to dribble a basketball. Basically, it doesn't take anything to catch a football. As far as you pay your fee, you may pay for equipment costs, but it seems like the karting and the whole development of the driver and all that other stuff, to me, is like really big on that. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thought, and you're right, and I definitely don't want anybody to feel slighted by anybody's got AU kids and football or basketball. We understand that those fees, you might pay 2,000 for a season and it includes shoes, but what Tanya uh is really focusing on is though fees in racing are like continuous all the way through. You have to think like you pay 2,000 for a season at AU. I'm paying upwards of like $3,000-4,000 just for the cart. All right, that's just for the cart. That's not including, depending on what kind of rules that she has in her standards or in her class, which means, okay, now like just today I got told she can't compete in the next race unless we get this tire. We had these tires, they change it, so with these tires, so that's another $500 I have to go pay for a set of tires in order for her to be able to compete in her first race. Then you look at her safety equipment, that's another $1,000+ because I want to make sure my baby's safe on track. Then for her to go practice, I got to rent the track. I got to pay for the pit pass. I got to get the gas. Then I also got to drive an hour away to get to the track. So yeah, it's expensive. And that is the break in the bridge when it comes, especially to minority or Black people in the communities. We're so jaded when it comes to like sports. It's like basketball, the combine's on, people watching football, basketball. You lucky if you hear track, you damn sure lucky if you hear golf. It's like the set three, basketball, football, baseball. And it's a lot of reasons for that because I can go right now and leave my house 5 minutes, I'm going to hit a baseball field. 6 minutes, I'm going to hit a soccer field. 2 minutes, I'm going to hit a basketball court. I have to go an hour away to hit the nearest track. That's another part. They need to do better with trying to facilitate not only that, but open up some programs. Lewis Hamilton is an anomaly that I'm glad and grateful for history and a group of people that happened. They did not have the financial means that other people had competing. All right. You're talking about kids that belong to multi-millionaire parents pulling up with all kind, and we're the only Black family at the track. So that's another thing that tells you that when I come there, I'm the only Black family and I'm the only one with a girl currently that's on the track racing. So they need to open up programs that will allow great drivers that we likely will never get to see just because of financial and traveling barriers. If they're really serious about making the sport available and even more entertaining, like there's a plethora of talent that you're not going to see out there because of that. So we need programs in the communities. You're coming to the United States of America in 3 forms: Las Vegas, Texas, and Miami. Soon there will be a 4th. I predicted that's going to be Midwest somewhere. Why is it that these states or these cities already don't have F1 funded programs for karting, for diversity? Why do we not even see that? Why are they not going into the schools saying, hey, for the summer, instead of your kid just being out here, we're going to develop a program. We got the bus. They're going to meet here at the school. We're going to transport them to the track. They're going to go through a day. There are ways to be done, but I don't think they want it to be done. I think that's their way of having a check valve to keep things and keep certain people out. And I've talked to Mike Begambi about this too, as well as he mentioned his work and everything going with Joshua. They ran up against those challenges where if you got to get a motor, they're talking about a tune motor, you're talking about $10,000. They're pricing these, they're trying to price people out of participating in Formula One and those series that lead to those pathways. And that's just the truth. So it is a barrier. And I'm experiencing it right now, even on a lower level. I'm experiencing. I do a lot of the work myself to save on the money, but still, like I said, you're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars. Like I've spent over $5,000 in a 2 weeks time period just trying to get her ready. And the only thing that I don't care about the money is because I see her face and she really wants to go for it. And until she says she don't want to go for it, I'm gonna find a way to pay for it. But how many parents have the means to do that? Like how many parents can say, listen, single parent households are real. So how many parents say, listen, baby, I gotta work. I can't take half day off work. I pulled her out of school early on Wednesday to get her to the track to practice because she might have a race coming up in next week. Like there's no like go to the gym and practice. There's like you got to pack everything up and go to the track to practice. So it's just a different thing. So it is a barrier. They do need to come up with programs like I just mentioned and bridge those gaps, certainly. Just like they need to do a better job with what's on their plate right now that they stepped up and said they were going to do and bridge this gap for women to get into the sport of Formula One. Because I'm not sold on this shit. I'm not sold on it. I looked at the schedule. Do you know how many tracks or circuits they will be at this season within their 7 race season with the Formula One product? You know how many tracks they're going to be there with Formula One?
No, what they say?
1. The only track or circuit the F1 Academy will be with Formula One will be in Coda, and that's their last race. So what about all the times that F1 Academy should be traveling, or at least the 7 races should be at the same circuit so that they can have access, like Martha said, access to the fan base that come there to see Formula One. That's not being done. So who's going to show up to see F1 Academy? This is the same thing we got with the WNBA, right? We know that the crowd is lesser there. And if they had a pregame before the NBA game, they'd be more likely to have a bigger crowd. The same thing goes with Formula One. Why is the F1 Academy not traveling with Formula One at some of these 7 tracks when they already got 23 plus races they're going to be at? You telling me you can find just COTA, their last race? You're going to see them at the last race? That's crazy. That's bullshit to me. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, and I'm all about examples as well. When you were speaking about, in America, like the fact that, there's so many, there's already 3 races. Well, there's 4 technically with Canada and North America, but
facts.
But Miami, the example was small in terms of like, the F1 in schools, but that's a program that's already in Miami with, people of the community wanting to really help the kids in their community. And then they did the work of going and reaching out to Formula One, and they're like, okay, let's do this for the Miami GP. And then from there, there's now just this nice little forward. And then when you look at it, it's 50 kids. It wasn't 1,000. It wasn't 2,000. It's right. 50 kids. If we just had access to actually give kids in most of the cities that Formula One goes to and say, hey, there's room for 50 each year. There's room for 50 for kids to get tickets to Formula One and then be in the program. Right. Those that want STEM programs. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, definitely.
So those are the things that I'm like, there's been already examples that it can be done. So with everybody else, really, like, it's all performative as far as I'm concerned. If you cannot follow through, give me one reason why COTA can't do the same thing that was done in Miami, why Canadian GP can't do the same thing that was done in Miami, why, Mexico can't do the same thing that was done in Miami. It's not up to the city, it's up to the promoters. And these promoters are making a lot of buck right now with Drive to Survive and what it's done for them, making a lot of money. 50 kids each year. There's a program right there. Bam. There's a program. Let's go.
True.
Done.
So, Tanya, I got a question for you. And then I'll go to Martha. Mm-hmm. Are you confident in, now this is the pathway is F1 Academy is trying to get women into the sport and allow them access. Like that is something that you both access, right? 2, having teams. And they're selling this off big, like teams where premier drivers have come through: George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, all of this, Lando Norris. Okay, so these teams now have decided to be part of the F1 Academy. They have 3 cars per team, 5 teams, right? 15 cars will be on grid. Why, to me, I feel like one of those cars should have a male in it. Because I say this, if you don't, then they continuously, to me, reserve the right in their back pocket to throw the stone that you've never competed against men. So therefore, we don't know if you're quite ready. If this is where they're supposed to be getting ready and you're allowing them access to these teams to be more involved with the whole process, you got 3 cars. Why not put males in those cars so that you can totally get rid of the fact that they cannot compete against men? That's one thing I felt they should have added. You got 3 cars. Why not? And then, because if you don't, that's going to be the constant knock. And I'm getting tired of that knock. I get tired of hearing it. That's, oh, they can't do it. They can't do it. Well, this was your opportunity to mix that in so you can go ahead and let them show you that they can do it. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I would say, I don't think they should put a man in the car. I think that they should just give them the equal machinery so they can prove that the stopwatch doesn't lie, because they're not racing. You're racing against a stopwatch. You're not racing against another gender. You're out there when you're racing, of course, to overtake people, everything else like that, but you're trying to achieve the perfect lap. And to me, if they can do that, if they're given the access to their trainers, their equipment, the time that it takes to develop drivers, if they're getting those same things, and they can prove themselves on the stopwatch, that's all they really need to have to prove
You
that they
think
can be
that?
in Formula One. No, I'm saying that's what it
Oh, okay.
needs to be.
Okay.
Not saying that it is, because we know
Okay.
that it's not. I mean, you see
Right.
my black face right now, you're going to have people telling me, what do you know about Formula One? Because they
Right.
see me as a black woman and they
Right.
develop all the assumptions about me and what I should know and what I shouldn't know.
Right.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that that's how it needs to be. That's how it should be. And putting a male in a seat, no, they don't even need to do all that. I feel like, no, give these women the same thing that you would give a George Russell, that you would give a Nick DeVries, that you would give a Lewis Hamilton. Give them that training and that access and watch the stopwatch. And if
that's
what they should do. And
I'll tell you this before going to Martha
themselves too. That way, then they deserve to be in Formula One, and that needs to be that. Stop making shit complicated. It doesn't need to be complicated.
I feel that, but I also think this. I think that what you said is accurate and right, but we know that the knock is they can't, even if they have equal machinery, even if that stopwatch says the time is there, they still use the rock that you can't do it when you're on the track with men. And I felt like at least 5 of those cars out of the 15 having men in them would allow them to prove with a man on track and that stopwatch running, I'm going to take this car right past him. There will be no knock. So when it comes to the first one that is said to go up to F3, that's done with. We're not going to hear that in the news. We don't need to hear that in the news because I competed in F1 Academy with men. And I did the same thing they did with equal machinery, which brings me to this point before we go to Martha. Equal machinery is part of my problem. The W Series car is taught us as well, T4. Why are you telling me that in F1 Academy, in the Formula Series where they're supposed to go to Formula 3, you're giving them a car with 85 less horsepower than the W Series car? That makes no sense to me. So you're giving them less machinery than they had in W Series, but then you're telling them they're trying to get them ready to go to F3, which has damn near 100 and something more horsepower. Matter of fact, damn near 200 and something more horsepower than the car they're using now. It makes no sense to me. So, Martha, go ahead, spit your facts about that. How you feel about that?
Well, I'm going to use Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen as an example. You know how last year there were scenarios where when the race started, actually, it was 2022 and 2021, when they had the kerfuffles where, you know, it's a question of, will Lewis still get by or will we let Max get by? So based on that, I do see why it's important to have men in that car as well, because I get the stopwatch concept, but the stopwatch concept does not do the driver's spatial awareness type of stuff where, are you going to take the gap? Are you going to fall back? Right? So that's another thing that they always tend to say, women tend to be nice. Women will tend to hold back. If it was me behind that steering wheel, you want to get out of my way. And I want to show you that. So same thing with when I was in O levels in Africa. They gave us 3 subjects to take. They gave us agriculture, fashion and fabrics, and food and nutrition. Because I'm just a hothead, I specifically went and I did agriculture. And already at 12 years of age, I'd already set myself up because I grew up with 2 brothers. I'm in between 2 brothers. I grew up with the notion of whatever they can do, I can do, and sometimes even better. So when I did my O-level agricultural theory, like it's a 2-year program, my goal was to beat the freaking dudes. And guess what? I did. And now at 41 years of age, I still stand holding that. Some of them follow me on social media. I still throw it at them. I beat your ass. Shut up. You can't take that from me. You can never take that from me. Right. I beat them fair and square because I had the opportunity to compete with them side by side. I raised my pig. I dissected it. I slaughtered it. I planted my corn. I planted my onions. I raised my chickens. No one was doing anything for me. Nails, no nails, makeup, no makeup. There was just that, whoa, we are straight. We're here. We're competing. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl, but it just felt good. It felt so freaking good. Yeah. And I feel like as long as women keep on getting this whole, you are on this side on your own, you'll never get that feeling. And that feeling for me is priceless. So I see it. I see the need for that, because if that's the reason why we keep on saying, let's separate women's academies and men's academies, that needs to just be done.
Well, I mean, I don't, but okay. So when you think of it on that aspect, then they just need to eliminate the F1 Academy altogether, and it just doesn't even need to exist. You don't need to bring men in, and it's a slower car with less horsepower. Be like, oh, well, let the men drive with the women. No, bump all that. How about this? How about you put these women in Formula 3 and let it ride? That's the problem. They don't want to let it ride. Your daughter is probably going to whoop a whole bunch of boys' tail on the karting track. So did Susie Wolff. She did the same thing.
She did the same thing.
They are karting together. These boys and girls are karting together. Okay. But then they get separated as they move up in driving series. And that whole entire thing needs to go. Now I do it's like, I kind of understand the theory, but then I don't. Cause I'm like, okay. So within the series, within the F1 Academy, are these women going to be able to get like the training, nutritional counseling, emotional support, all of these things that the drivers get? Are they starting like from that aspect? And they're like, okay, well, if you do this, then you can move into, the next racing series, then the next racing series, then the next racing series. That's what I want to know. But the whole having men drive with them, nah, because if that's even going to be the case, you need to just take apart, dismantle the whole F1 Academy and just let these women compete with the guys anyway.
And that was going to be my next point.
And just
these
keep
five,
moving.
that's how I felt. These 5 teams that signed up for the F1 Academy, why could these 5 teams not do that in the series they already exist in?
Right.
Why could they not do that there?
But I do see another aspect, another problem. And Susie Wolff did speak about this in a podcast that she was in. Lewis Hamilton speaks about it. Everybody speaks about it. Getting the money to race is a big problem.
Big
thing. So that might be, I don't know if that kind of factors into, okay, we'll let them get exposure so then brands can see them and want to invest in them too. Give them a little bit more time to do that. I don't know. But there are a lot of people that say the reason why, look at Willie T. Ribbs. They didn't want him because he was, he wasn't an Italian driver. And then plus
he was black.
His parents gave him the money. Yeah. Basically, his parents gave him the money to race. And when his parents' money ran out and he didn't secure sponsorships, he had to fly his tail home. The reason why Lewis Hamilton is successful as he is because he was recognized during karting. And he was able to be given money to be able to go through all the way through Formula 1. So I think that's another aspect too that we have to look at.
Right.
Well, I think that's why F1 Academy might work better than W Series. Because think about W Series, you had 10 teams, right? And even when you go to sponsorship, you got 10 teams that all need sponsorship, that all need something. But then if you cut it down to like a smaller group, I think now that we've concentrated that group, there is still the need for money, but then that money is being put into like smaller teams. We're not spreading. So for example, say Formula 1 decides, let's donate 200,000 to the F1 Academy. It's not being split amongst 10. It's being split amongst a smaller number of teams, which I think that's something that might, if that's what's going on, I think the fact that there are less teams might work in the favor of making sure that there is a subsequent amount of finances to support them for entire season and not have to have them back out before it's over. I'm not accepting of F1 Academy in its completely, but because it's here, I have to sit with it's here. So, I do like the fact that it's less teams, and I'm hoping that because it's less teams, things will move a little quicker. We've got money to be able to cover all the teams and not feel like we are very stringent in what we have. I'm pretty sure they've been given some sort of donations and sponsorship and some backing from Formula 1, which is, going to be helpful. So in a sense, I'm just curious to see what 2023 holds in store for F1 Academy. And I think as we go along is when I'll literally just take some notes and see, okay, what does this really look like? And is this going to be around in 2024? Is it going to get better? And is it going to grow? But
I just don't think we have enough information, you all. That's just what I think. I think once they actually give us more information on exactly how it's funded, exactly what they're going to be doing with the drivers, why did they choose to go to certain tracks versus be a part of the Formula 1 ecosystem as far as sharing tracks on race days? what was the reasoning for all of this stuff? I think at that point, and plus it's the first year, it's anything that like starts off the first year is usually going to be a lot of bumps and nicks to the whole entire thing. So I think that we have to see how this year plays out, because they're not going to get everything right. Like what thing has anybody ever done the first year that they've gotten everything right? So I just want to see more information. I feel like it's better than doing nothing, because that could have been the other option. They just do absolutely nothing. But I think after the first year, we can probably come up with, hey, they need to do this, improvements need to be done here. And also we'll be able to learn more about the academy as a whole.
Right.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
So your competition. So even if you look at Formula One, the drivers against their teammates. So Leclerc versus Sainz.
Mm-hmm.
You as a driver, you are built by your other driver, your competition, Bottas and Lewis. If your competition is not good or is not gonna really push you hard, you are not gonna push. So racing two girls against each other and then saying, oh, they're not good enough, is not going to actually get us to what we really need to see unless you actually race. Because Formula One's premise is that the men are better.
I'm sold on that one.
Give me that dude that you say is okay. Don't give me Lewis Hamilton, but give me Formula 2. Give me Formula 3. I'm sorry. I'm joking. I'm joking. Give me Lewis Hamilton. I'll take you. Right. Lewis, I will take you. But give me
Tanya's face. I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay.
No, I'm trying not to go against what I'm saying here about this, okay? So give me that dude that you're saying I cannot perform against, and that's the dude that's gonna pull everything out of me.
Good point.
So you need to think about what is going to bring out the beast out of this person. You need to bring out the competition. Like even if you look at gladiators, you pair people up based on what's gonna bring the ooze, what's gonna bring the power, what's gonna bring the fire out of this person. So I just think that if you keep on making me compete with Tanya, I'm like, Tanya's, we're the same age, we have kids, we're cool, right? But if you say, Wolfpack, you're coming, well, yeah, sure, come, we'll show you what we're made of.
Right. It's going to be a different attitude, though. It's going to be a different attitude. Right. Exactly. It's true. That's true. It's going to be a different attitude.
I was just thinking about that. I just thought that's a really interesting point to bring up.
Right. And Tanya, I want to go back to your point when you started off. You're right about the money. Okay. So the money and the attraction of sponsorship is very important. These drivers are pretty much like their own businesses. And the buying of the seat is how much money can you bring to the team? And that is part of the problem, is that women have not been given access to have the exposure to sponsors that will then back them. It's not that they're not good enough. It's not that they can't do it. It's the fact that they're not bringing them in these rooms. All right. It's like the good old boys club. So yes, right now, if you try to name me like 2-3 teams from the W series, you're going to be like Puma, something like, you're going to come up with names like, where have you all been legitimately in racing as a household name? Now they're going to be with 5 teams that have legitimately been pathways for successful drivers in Formula One. So that is a very good point as far as the exposure and money. So then my next thing is this. We're going to bring up Jamie Chadwick as we start rounding third base. Jamie Chadwick's move in comparison to F1 Academy, is it lateral or is it up? Who wants to go first? Go ahead, Tanya.
Well, no, I was going to say, what do you mean, her going to IndyCar?
Yeah, Indy next. Is that a lateral movement, or do you consider that above a movement of F1 Academy?
I think it's above, because she'll get more driving experience. I mean, when you look at her, when you look at Hallie Deegan, when you look at Danica Patrick, when you look at these female drivers, even the male drivers that competed in multiple types of race series, you gain that experience. So no, I think that's the only way that she can go is up. She's going to be competing with Marcus Ericsson, Romain Grosjean. They've all been in Formula One. I don't want to hear anything about Is this the reason why you called on me, Wolfpack? Because you know I was going to go off like
I
this.
know. Go ahead. That's what I'm saying. There you go.
This is not going to happen. Do not tell me, oh, well, she needs to go back to the F1 Academy. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. Stop it.
Right.
Martha, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox.
Go ahead.
No,
Martha.
I agree with Tanya too. I absolutely salute her doing that based on just getting a different racing experience, and the fact that she's actually doing what I would have loved for most of them to do, is just be there with all these other drivers. It's not about women anymore. I feel like if she had been in F1 Academy, I feel like it's just moving sideways. It's just, now W Series, F1 Academy. Oh, next year they come up with another women's organization. Oh, this, but with where she is, she definitely is in a place where she can show what she is made of and also build up on it, because she's racing with that the narrative is broken now. So she's now racing with the dudes, and she's going to show them that I got this. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Right, just some little tidbits. Indy Next car, 450 plus horsepower, whereas the F1 Academy car, 185 horsepower. She also will have 40% more races in her season, being that she will have a total of 13 events compared to 7 events. And she will be competing against males and former F1 drivers. So if there ever was an opportunity, not to mention the super license points or something else, I'm still waiting for them to see or show us how many points will be awarded to these ladies for racing in F1 Academy, because that's also going to tell us how much they're behind it. They're only getting 5-10 points within it. That's a problem. Like, they got, to me, I said they got to be at least between 18 to 12 to 18 points for the super license to even show mutual respect for some of the other racing series out there that I know they don't respect. But I think Jamie Chadwick is definitely getting more experience. I think she's getting a better teaching. She also has, look, she's got DHL as a sponsor. Like, that's a pretty big ass sponsor. She's with Andretti Autosports family. Her car is more powerful. The machinery she's in control of is closer to F3, between F3, F2. So she's, to me, getting a lot more experience than what would be given in F1 Academy. So if I've already said this, if Jamie Chadwick comes in like top 10, I mean, what the hell is anybody saying? Like, anybody else is funny. A man come in top 10, they're like, oh shit, you doing good. If Jamie Chadwick come in top 10, watch the double standard. Watch the double standard.
Nah, what if she comes in one? What if she comes in two?
Right.
Then we look. Then everybody need to shut up, sit down.
Everybody need to shut up in top 10. Right. At top 10, you need to shut up.
Y'all going to Formula One. All right. She's about to leapfrog all of that and go to Formula One. All right.
I think legitimately,
if
if she does that, I'm thinking at least F2, no lower than F2, because of the machinery itself. Like, I think F2 is around 500, 600 horsepower. So I'm thinking on F2. But even if F1, I mean, Williams should be, I'm just saying, like, if there was something that they were going to slight, like, I can't see anything less than F2. But I do think Williams, why hasn't she been issued that? Like, I'm thinking, like, you got Jamie Chadwick right here who's going to Indy next. You mean to goddamn tell me you got her in the garage and you can't do more than find a pair of headsets to put on her so she can get the drive? Like, she should be getting all her kilometers in with Williams Racing. Like, legitimately, straight up, like, that's what should have been done. I was looking for that to happen. Like, for real, you had Crash Tiffy. You let Crash Tiffy sit over there and run your cost cap up. Like, you tripping. Like, you can't give Jamie Chadwick the opportunity. That's how I feel about that shit. But yeah, that's just me and you and Martha. So
no, 100%. That's why when you're like, I'm like, what? Yeah, no. She was already in an F1 garage. No, get her in the car.
Get her in the car
and let her do what it does.
Right. And she should have her super license points for real. She should definitely have that cleared up. And I'll be looking for that to happen. Until then, I'm going to be looking just like you all about seeing what happens from F1 Academy to F3, because supposedly there's a 3-year plan in place. They said within 3 years, they plan on having somebody come from F1 Academy into the F3. So I'm gonna wait and see how that actually happens. So why don't you let these good people know where they can come and meet you, see you, support you, buy merch from you, do whatever they can. Go ahead and fire it off so they know where to come.
Tanya, that's you. Go ahead.
That's me. Why's it gotta be me? Yeah. Okay. All right. So everybody, Apex Takeover, the Apex Takeover podcast on Instagram. And then we also have a website, Apex Takeover Podcast. And you can find us on Spotify. We have our podcast where we speak to everyone unsung heroes of Formula One. So no, you will not find the typical people, but we have interviewed some pretty dope people. And hey, on the track too, because I don't care what Martha says, we are going to races at this point because we need to be a strong representation of Black women being able to be successful in content creation, also media, and in Formula One. So we're not going anywhere. We'll be here. DM us. We do like DMs, comments, all that other stuff. Reach out to us, support us, follow us.
See, this is why I gave that to her.
You gave it to her.
I would have done one sentence. Yeah. Instagram. Boom. Yeah.
You got all the plugs. So listen, I'm going to make a lot of what Tanya said easy for you all. I'm going to put links where you can just click and go in the description of both the YouTube video, and then also there will be a link in the actual podcast, so you can go right over them, because sharing is caring. And that's another episode of Performance Talk where I talk my F1-ish. Peace and love. We out. Thanks for watching another episode of Wolfpack Performance. Don't forget to check out some of my other content on Formula One and motorsports topics. Like, share, subscribe, and we go live on the weekends. See you soon.